Yeah, I'm better at I'm better at this part than I was at that part.
Yeah, no kidding. So everybody always wants to know, when somebody is at the absolute top of their profession, all humility aside, you have to admit you are on the short list of the best comedians on the globe. When did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
In 1986, they built a comedy club between where I lived and where I worked called the Funny Bone Comedy Club in Arlington, Texas. And I was a window salesman. I sold windows and doors. And a guy that I worked with, a guy named Sam Bartholomew, went to the first open mic night, and he came to work the next day and said, "Ron, you're funnier than these guys, and you should go do this." And so I wrote 4 minutes of rip snorting comedy, and had to audition, and with nobody, with the manager of the club and a couple of wait staff that were there that early. And I remember I got a laugh because one of my big jokes was, my wife said, "These pants make me look big," and I said, "No, I'm pretty sure it's that fat," which has been hacked a million times, but it was a really original piece of comedy 32 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just remember one of the waitresses who was just walking by just laughed out loud, and I'm like, boom, there's a laugh right there. I got a laugh. So even then, I only did it because I thought it would be fun. I never thought, when you're from Fritch, Texas, or even Deer Park, Texas, they don't really talk a lot about the arts on career day.
Yeah.
They really don't. From where I was sitting, and from my dad's point of view, the best thing I could possibly end up being is a left-handed heliarc pipe welder.
Right.
Well, I was already right-handed, so that cuts my pay in half because, those guys work in teams.
Right.
So the right-handed guy does one side, but it's like a left-handed boxer or pitcher, not very many of them. So if you're a left-handed heliarc pipe welder, especially if you can do it underwater, you can make a pretty good living.
Right.
And so that was, I'm like, well, if I can get over this right-handedness and, so
hold my breath.
I hold my breath for a long time. I got quite a future.
Yeah.
And my dad always said, the best money is in construction. And even in Houston back then, I'd look at those skyscrapers. I go, well, what do those guys do?
Yeah.
I think somebody else has got to be doing something besides welding.
Yeah.
And so I was a pipe fitter's helper for a while, and I was pretty good at that. But I never really became one.
So when was the first time you got paid for doing comedy? Did you get paid for that in 86?
I don't think it was 86 because that would have been September 17th, 86. So I'm just over 32 years into it now.
Yeah.
So it probably would have been around February or March of the next year. I got paid to do this place called Corky's in Killeen, Texas, which is where Fort Hood is.
Oh, yeah.
So Corky's was really one of the funniest things I ever said. I said then, because I was setting up a joke and I mentioned that there were 40,000 men stationed at Fort Hood, which there is. And this really well-dressed drunk lady hollers out, "Every one of them's a bad And I said, boy, it seems like after about 39,000 times, you start to go, maybe it's me. maybe I need to read a book, And so I think I made $40 or something for that couple of days, or maybe it was more than that. Maybe it was $80 maybe it was $40 a night. I don't really remember.
Yeah.
But it was still, I was getting paid for doing something that I considered to be just fun.